Hey guys, it is Isaac with a brand new video today, and today it's another election prediction. I've kind of started the series on this new channel. I'm just doing election predictions and other political type of activities or extravaganzas, I guess. Today we're going to do Donald Trump versus Kamala Harris, so you guys check out my other videos, my first two videos from yesterday and the day before, which were Donald Trump versus Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump versus Joe Biden. Once I finish these presidential ones, I'm probably gonna do Elizabeth Warren next. Possibly, maybe do Cory Booker, or Klobuchar, or Rourke. I don't know, one of those people. Once I'm finished with all of those, just presidential races, I'm definitely gonna dive into the primaries, and I think that's gonna be really interesting. But for today, we're just gonna do Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. Obviously, she's running as the first, serving her first term as a congresswoman from California. She got elected in 2016, former attorney general in the state of California, and also served as a prosecutor in San Francisco and Oakland, in pretty much the entire Bay Area of California. So Kamala Harris has a bit of a record. Has, in many ways, you could say she has a lot of qualifications to be serving the office of President of the United States. Some criticism she received is the fact that she only has been serving since 2016 in government. Maybe she doesn't have the experience to be there, but again, Donald Trump is the president of the United States as well. So let's just get started here. We're gonna put out some state. Let's just go state by state. So we're in Washington, Oregon. These states are gonna go easy for her. She's from the West Coast. I think she's gonna do very good on the West Coast. Same thing with obviously her home state of California will go good for Kamala Harris. I also think Nevada will go well because Nevada is a state that is on the West Coast, is right next to California, and it's voted Democrat since 2008 in terms of for Obama. It's been going for Democrats for what is now 3 election cycles. And I don't see that changing, especially with a person with a West Coast personality, West Coast appeal. And I think it's going to play perfectly into the population demographics in Las Vegas, which represents a third of the population. So I don't think I'm going to leave Nevada as a toss-up state for this example, or for this prediction. And I'm going to do the same with New Mexico. I'm not going to leave New Mexico as a toss-up. Trump came within 8 points of beating Hillary Clinton in 2016 in New Mexico. But I do think that Kamala Harris, that's going to be her range of voters. She's going to do well with minorities, with her being a minority of herself, half Indian, half Jamaican. I think she's struggling still a bit with minority voters, especially African Americans, with polls coming out of South Carolina. But I do think that her numbers will improve as we get closer to the primaries. And then we know these states over here are going to be safe for Donald Trump. Idaho, Utah, Arizona, I think he'll still win. I think it'll be much closer. But I'm not going to leave Arizona as a toss-up either. I think it's still going to be red. I think it's still going to come out for Trump in this case. And we know Alaska will be a safe Republican state, and Hawaii will be a safe Democratic state. And then we're going to go through Montana, Wyoming, 2 safe Republican states. Colorado, I think, will be a bit closer, but Kamala Harris, she's not necessarily a progressive. She's trying to brand herself as that, but I do think she'll win the state. When I had the Bernie Sanders prediction, I put Colorado as a likely because if you look at not only the primaries, how good he did there, but the state is very progressive itself. Light laws on stuff like cannabis and other sorts of kind of rules and kind of taboos of the society that may be taboo in other places, but not in Colorado. They're a lot more become a liberal state in the last 6-7 years. You can even go back to since Obama got elected. Pretty much, Colorado has become almost a blue state. So I think that Kamala Harris will win it. I think it'll be a little bit closer, but I think she'll win it by a margin of somewhere between 5 to 6 points, maybe a little bit more. We'll see. And now going over here through the rest of the Tornado Alley, essentially the Midwest, heartlands of America, Kansas, Oklahoma, all these states are safe Republican bets. And that's the same thing. I put Texas as a likely for Donald Trump. I'm not going to leave it as a toss-up. As I've said in other videos, I don't believe Texas will be a toss-up state until 2024 or 2028. So let's go to round out the rest here of what are going to be safe states for Republicans as well. Louisiana, Arkansas, Missouri, we know Kentucky, Tennessee, not Virginia. I'm going to zoom in here. And I'm going to get rid of Virginia. Obviously, that's going to be a toss-up for me for now. North Carolina, I think, will be close, but I'm not going to leave it as a toss-up state either. It's voted Republican since Romney. And Romney was running against Obama, which I said in the other video. Very strong candidate, obviously served 2 terms as president and had pretty good approval ratings. And Obama lost in North Carolina. Trump won in North Carolina. And I don't see his base of supporters turning on him in North Carolina with someone like Kamala Harris. So I'm going to have him winning North Carolina. And then Mississippi, Alabama. I'm going to leave Georgia as a toss-up for now, as well as Florida. So the South is pretty rounded out, other than Georgia and Florida. And let's zoom in here. We know the Northeast is going to go comfortably to Kamala Harris, other than New Hampshire. Corporate Democrat, then do good well in places like Maryland, New Jersey, New York. Yeah, and it's going to be safe. Even as Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Vermont are more progressive, they're going to vote for the Democrat regardless. They're not going to make it close in terms of in a race with Donald Trump. Maybe like if you had a more moderate Republican, John Kasich, he could maybe have a bit of a higher chance in places like even Massachusetts, maybe close the gap a bit. Keep it somewhat of a tight race, but that's not going to happen with a Donald Trump type candidate. So now we're going to go here. Let me fix Virginia. So let's look over here. We're in West Virginia. Kentucky will be safe. Indiana. These are all going to be safe Republican states. And then we're going to go to Maine, and we're going to give this first part of Maine, we're going to give to Kamala Harris. We're going to give Trump the kind of the rural section of Maine, Kamala Harris the other part. So Kamala Harris is going to get on the coast, major cities like Bangor, Augusta, Bal Harbor, urban populations in the state of Maine, Portland, that are going to always vote reliably Democrat. And, of course, Trump will usually do well in the rural areas. I am going to put it, though, a little bit closer over here. So let me zoom in. I'm going to make this a bit closer. So let me just fix this part. And I think it will be a bit closer still, but he'll win it. And that leaves us to here. Oh, I just forgot to put New York and Illinois. So this is what we get left with in terms of swing states or states that will be in contention. We have Florida, Georgia, Virginia, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota. So I'm going to start up here in Minnesota. And I think Kamala Harris will win it pretty well. It'll be a likely. Amy Klobuchar, 20-plus points. Tina Smith serving another senator from the state, two Democratic senators. Trump does not have a good approval rating in the state. I think Kamala Harris runs through here. I don't think it will be to the same, let's say, kind of destruction in terms of margin of victory like a Bernie Sanders or I think Joe Biden would come with. But I think Kamala Harris will do well here. I think it's going to be likely, but I think it will be a little bit closer than people would imagine just because it's an extremely homogeneous state. I'm trying to remember the word. That means that you have one race. Essentially, it's a very white state outside of Minneapolis. And Kamala Harris is expected to do well with minority voters and stuff like that. So that's her base, especially when it comes to issues like criminal justice reform. And that's not really the issues in places like Minnesota, in the majority of the state anyway. So I think she'll still win, but just not by a huge margin because that's not where her base of supporters are. So I think that's going to go for her. Going into Iowa, I think Trump will still win Iowa as a close. He won it by 9 points against Hillary Clinton in 2016. I think in terms of favorability, Kamala Harris is a little more likable than Hillary Clinton. Maybe not the same name recognition or, let's say, experience, but I think she's more likable in terms of, if you look at polls, favorability. Hillary Clinton was not very favorable. She lost the election. Maybe won the popular vote, but bottom line, still lost. And Kamala Harris, I think, will do better than her in that case. So she'll close Iowa a little closer, but Donald Trump, good base over there. Works with rural areas. That's his base. And unless you have a Bernie Sanders candidate or a more progressive candidate, I don't think anyone's going to flip Iowa. Going into Wisconsin and Michigan, I'm going to leave those for last as I'm trying to round out the rest because those are difficult states to really figure out. And I just want to cover everything else so I can take more time to focus on these two really important states. So going into Virginia, I think she'll still win it. She runs like a progressive, but a lot of her policies and issues in the past have been more of corporate Democrat, prosecutor in Oakland, put a lot of people in jail, let's just be honest here. And she has some controversy surrounding that with her talking about legalizing marijuana, but she was putting people in prison. Now, it doesn't matter. Some people may say she turned a new leaf and she's really become a progressive and has fought for multiple criminal justice reform bills, and people applaud her for that. But the other side of the issue is you look at her actual record. So that can play kind of some type of factor going into places like Virginia. that are more in tune with, your corporate high-level Democrats compared to like a grassroots Bernie Sanders. But I think she'll edge it out over there. And then going over here to the South, I think Trump will still win Georgia. I think he'll still win Florida. Brian Kemp won in Georgia. And two Trump-backed candidates, Ron DeSantis and Rick Scott, won in Florida in what was considered a Democratic wave year, as I've said in previous videos. So I think he'll still come out. And then going into the last couple of states, Kamala Harris is at 228. Trump is at 242. If we look at New Hampshire, Trump is not doing too well in this state. And I think that even with Kamala Harris not having her really base of support over here, with Bernie Sanders, I had New Hampshire almost as a safe. I had it at likely. I think with Kamala Harris, it'll be much closer, but I'll have her edging it out. Shoot, at the moment we are now, unless something changes with Trump, let's say he delivers on an issue that was very important to people living in New Hampshire, I have Kamala Harris winning the state. So, yeah. And then going out into the last few states here, I'm going to give Trump Ohio. He won it by a decent margin. Other than Sherrod Brown winning his Senate race, as I said before, Republicans did okay in the state. Their governor won. The Republican governor, the new one, Mike Newini, replacing John Kasich, won his election. So I think Republicans did fairly well here. Trump won by nearly 10 points. And I don't see, again, unless a progressive candidate's coming out, I don't see the results changing. These Rust Belt states that are very blue-collar working, your miners, your factory workers, and this is just not where Kamala Harris appeals to. She might appeal to some of the minorities here, but I don't think enough to win the state as it's currently constructed. And that's going to be the same reason why I'm going to give Trump Pennsylvania as well. His rural base over here will deliver him. Just like they delivered to him in 2016, Kamala Harris will do fantastic in Philadelphia. She will do fantastic in Pittsburgh, Allentown, Harrisburg, all these major cities within the state. But Trump just dominates in the rural areas when you looked at raw votes total from 2016. And Kamala Harris is very different from Hillary Clinton in many ways. But her base of support, woman, minority, that's going to be her base. It's a very similar base to Hillary Clinton. And I don't think that's going to work out in a state like Pennsylvania. I am going to give her Michigan, though. And I'm going to give her Wisconsin. I think those states, even Michigan, it's I think because of the African American population in Detroit and in Grand Rapids, they represent such a large portion of the population, and African Americans and other minorities in the state, because they also have a very high, actually, believe it or not, people don't know this, but they have a pretty high Muslim population as well. And I think they're going to reliably vote for someone like Kamala Harris. So I think that she's going to win in Michigan. I think she's going to appeal to the voters there, even as it's a very Rust Belt state, I think, compared to the minority vote totals. And you look at actual population demographics compared to Pennsylvania, I think she'll do better there. In Wisconsin as well, I think it's really become more Democratic since Trump was elected president. It had voted Republican for the first time in 25 years when Trump won in 2016 in this state. But Scott Walker literally just lost his election. It was close, but he lost his election to the Democrat in there. And don't quote me on it, but I'm pretty sure Democrats did decently well in House congressional races as well in Wisconsin. So I think it's gone pretty blue in the last couple of months, even pretty much 2 years since he was elected, as well as Trump having a very bad approval rating in the state, where I think I'm pretty sure it's somewhere between -14 and 18, while in Pennsylvania it's only -4, which is still bad, but that's still within the possibility of him changing it and it becoming positive. And still more than enough for him to win the state. Because just because you're not approved, it doesn't mean people won't vote for you. That makes sense. Like, you can be disapproving of someone. A lot of people were disapproving of Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, but they still voted for one or the other. So I think that -4 is a lot more manageable to win a state if you can convince a couple hundred, 1,000 people to vote for you, compared to a state where you're -14, or -15, like Wisconsin. I think it might be somewhere between -10, 15, somewhere in that range. It's double digits. I know that for sure, which is not good. So that's going to be the election prediction right now. I'm going to have Trump winning 280 to 258. So far, the only person I've had beating Trump is Bernie Sanders that I had in my first video. Joe Biden lost as well in the Rust Belt, but he kept it close. I think the only person right now that I've played with that's really done well is Bernie Sanders. It's going to be interesting once I bring a Beto O'Rourke and Elizabeth Warren and how they can possibly win the race as well. But that's going to be the prediction for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm going to have a brand new video coming out tomorrow. It is either going to be a Donald Trump versus Elizabeth Warren, Beto O'Rourke, or Amy Klobuchar. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.